you're doing, boy. Look at what you've done, son. Look at the mess you've made. With all your hard bother, you disrespect your father. It's too bad we ought to send you back to where you came. Yeah, 'cause you're bad, Billy. You be a dirty flirty underneath the skirt, dirty wild child. What's that you say? When will you ever learn to think before you speak? Go to your room for the rest of the day, 'cause you're bad, Billy. No matter what you do or say, no matter what you feel, you're bad, Billy. You're bad, Billy. Oh, you're bad, Billy, bad. Billy, bad. Billy, bad. You think you be the one under the sun, can do whatever you please. Let me tell you something, you've got a lot of gumption. The way you walk around, strutting the stuff like the king of the street. Yeah, 'cause you're bad, Billy. No matter what you do or say, no matter what you feel, you're bad, Billy. You're bad, Billy. Oh, you're bad, Billy, bad. Billy, bad. Billy, bad. No matter what you do or say, no matter what you feel, no matter who you think you are, you're not that big a deal. You're bad, Billy. Yeah, you're bad, Billy. Oh, you're bad, Billy, bad. Billy, bad.
Welcome to a very special edition of Fringe Toast. This is Andy Bargerstock. And this evening the spotlight will be shining on Robert Reeder and his new CD. We just heard Bad Billy Bad, and in a little bit we'll be hearing an interview with Robert and his collaborator James Moore to talk about the making of the new CD, simply called The Album. Before the interview.
Red dirt underneath your feet, nothing but miles and miles of heat and burning guitars. No one else is left to please. They've all dropped off by twos and threes. Must be something in the stars. Near the pitfall nearly missed, and they're the omen with daily twist. Caught a man a night behind bars. The sky's not blue and now the wind blows cold. There's nothing else but you. You're walking on Mars. I see you walking on Mars. I caught you walking on Mars. Walking across a face of glory. Walking on Mars. Writing the words to your own perfect story. Walking on Mars. Making changes to the master plan. Making love without a man. Floating backwards down the Rio Grande. And getting ready for the Martian girl grandstand. I know you're walking on Mars. Till you're walking on Mars. I'm afraid you're walking on Mars. Wish there was something we could do about it. Maybe take it down to Venus now. Maybe take you walking on the moon. Sleeping in your bed, nothing but the same up ahead. Everywhere you're looking, you see red. Walking with the Martians in your head.
You've been listening to Walking on Mars, featuring Robert Reeder here in the studio at KRUU-FM along with James Moore. And we're excited about this September 2014 release of your first CD. Even though you've been in the music business for 47 years, Robert Reeder, thank you for coming and joining with us and tell us about this new CD release.
You're welcome. It's nice to be here, Andy.
This first track that we heard, Walking on Mars, kind of an unusual tune. Tell us a little bit about that track and the whole music concept on the CD.
Well, that song, Walking on Mars, is one of those songs that I had no idea what I was writing about. It just kind of was streaming through, and it ended up making sense to me. And then I played it for some of the people that I work with, and we ended up thinking that it was a pretty strong song. But you know, it's just about attitude towards life and kind of getting stuck in some weird bass, and it happens to a lot of people.
Well, you've had quite a journey over 47 years. Started off by leaving your father's ranch in Northern California at age 19. 47 years later, that you're releasing your first solo CD.
Yeah, well, that's my story. I mean, when I was a kid, some musicians from Los Angeles came out to live on my dad's cattle ranch, including Bob Cheevers, and he was a mentor of mine. I mean, I played him songs, and he was like, you know, kid, you're pretty good, and, you know, you might want to think about going to L.A. And so I finally did that. A few years later, I just got in my pickup, drove down to L.A. with my songs, and started meeting people, and And a year later, I actually recorded with some of the members of Crazy Horse at A&M Studios, Studio B, with Henry Louie, who was pretty much of a powerhouse producer at the time. And it was kind of amazing. Although, as high of a moment that was in my life, it ended up being kind of a tragedy for me because the tracks got put in the vault somewhere and never got to release them or do anything with them.
Well, there'll be a time somebody's going to go in and dig those up again.
Yeah, I wonder. I tried getting them a few times.
So you became a professional songwriter. You were hired by Screen Gems EMI and...
Yeah, first with ATV Music, and I was with them for a couple of years. It's actually a production writing deal. The production part of it never happened. But yeah, I got some songs placed in those days. Even had a kind of a semi-hit at one time with Stacey Ladisaw.
And you did have tracks recorded by some famous musicians as well, right?
Yep. That was another one of those high point, low point things where I get a song recorded by a major artist and then the album would come out and the song's not on it. It happened to me 3 times in a row. Actually, more than that, but 3 major times with the Everly Brothers, Glenn Campbell, Bette Midler.
So then around 1991, you stumble on Fairfield, Iowa. I guess you had a son going to school here. You decided to come out, take a little time off. Your band, The Porch, had disbanded.
Yeah.
Then you came to Fairfield, Iowa and ran into James Moore.
True.
Who is collaborating with you on this CD, right?
Yes, he wrote, we co-wrote 4 of the songs on the CD. We've been writing together since then. I mean, that was 1992, 91, 92. And he was one of the first people I met when I came to this town. I think he was on his way to Nashville at the time, and instead we decided to look into writing together.
So, James, you remember that day or that time when you first ran into Robert Reeder, and give us your impressions of when first meeting him and then what happened as you started to collaborate.
Well, I'd heard about Bob from some other people. Thanks, Andy, for having us in, by the way. But I'd heard about Bob from some dear friends, and when I met him, actually, he was working on refurbishing a place. Bob is a man of many talents, from cattle ranching to house building to almost anything you can imagine. But he was covered with plaster, and he pulled off his little mask. I could see some eyes in there, and it was that was the first moment. But after that, we got together and played right away, and Bob played some of the music for me from Porch that he had recorded with Jody Cortez, the Cortez brothers, amazing musicians, Doug Moore as well, who I think played with Linda Ronstadt, all these guys.
Warren Zevon,
just blown away. And so we started writing 3-4 times a week, I think, for 3 or 4 years. Some will remember Sage. That was that project with Tim Britton and Daniel Sperry.
How many years did you guys play? I know, of course, it was on and off there for a while.
Yeah, it was on and off. I would say that maybe 4 or 5 years from beginning to the last concert.
David and Eric, of course, joined you with...
That's right. Apocalypso Tantric Boys Choir, been going about 17 years, really since Sage, almost, during that time. Mm-hmm. And that is kind of the core group for playing on this record.
Right. Yeah, thank goodness for those guys. I mean, this record, it was a really interesting... The sequence of how this got made, originally it actually started with David Butler, a good friend of mine who I was working on some songs, and he was listening to me, and he's like, well, do you have a CD of your songs? I'm like, no. And then he talked me into going to playing in this festival in Colorado, the Buffalo Woman's Ranch. I went out there and I played as just a solo person. And after my performance, that's when I met Cody Lyon. Cody Lyon is a promoter in Colorado, and she came up to me and said, I really loved your performance. I love your songs. Do you have a CD? And I said, no. And her face was like, what? You don't have a CD? And so that kind of planted the seed of, maybe I should record something, So then I came back, sat in Tim's living room, put on a click track, played my songs, and we put a little bit of instrumentation on it as a demo. I took it to LA and played it for my friends there, and they're like, wow, this is awfully brave of you to be doing it your age. Everybody else is quitting when they get to be your age, Good luck. Yeah. And I went to Nashville, and it was kind of the same thing, I couldn't get any studio time set up, and so I decided I'd come back and do it here, and I brought James in, and by the way, the the combination of Tim and James and I, we've been working together for over 20 years now. The three of us were all on stage together.
Yeah, so you're talking about Tim Britton doing the engineering and production work on this album.
Yeah, so the three of us kind of co-produced this record. Tim was the engineer. Jimmy is like an amazing arranger and musician. He played everything except the kitchen sink on this record, and it's brilliant stuff.
I show you as playing bass, acoustic and electric guitars, banjo, dobro, harmonica, keyboards, and vocals. Did we leave anything out?
Hand claps.
Well, tambourine technically, but let's not get into the details. The kitchen sinks for the next record. We're already talking about the next record, Robert.
Yeah.
But I do want to say about Robert, the head of steam that he's had, meeting him right away, this was the record I wanted to make with him, with full instrumentation. I love the Sage as a project. The acoustic, we're recording all in one fell swoop and so forth. The writing, I think, is really great. But when I heard Robert, when I heard The Porch, this sort of, in my mind, has been something I just have been hoping for. So working on some of the songs, putting this down, I think it really mines the deeper part of what Robert has. And what Robert has is not only just this remarkable lyrical ability and vocal range, the lyrical content is sort of, you mentioned, I think, Eagles sort of on the surface.
Yes.
But somehow when you think of the Eagles, the delicacy, the tender part of what Robert gets into at the same time is just remarkable to work on. It's just been great, so much fun.
I'd like to play another track so that the audience gets another feel for the type of music that you have here.
Every Time is a song about sticking with your dreams and finding something new in something that you've been doing for a while.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. The sun goes round and my feet are flat on solid ground. Oh, one step forward, one step back. Train wailing down the track without a sound. Oh, I'm feeling something new after all that we've been through. One step at a time. It's a big, big open feeling underneath the sky blue ceiling. And it blows my mind every time. One step, two steps, meet me in the middle. I wouldn't mind holding you close just a little bit longer. Oh, you're making it easy, you're making it real. Every time it comes around the field, it's a little bit stronger. I'm feeling something new after all that we've been through. One step at a time. Oh, it's a big, big open feeling underneath the sky blue ceiling. And it blows my mind every time. Oh, every time, every time, every time, every time it comes to this. Oh, every time we cross the line, it only takes one kiss. Something new after all that we've been through. One step at a time. It's a big, big open feeling underneath the sky blue ceiling. And it blows my mind every time.
Every Time from the new CD called The Album by Robert Reeder in collaboration with Apocalypso Tantric Boys Choir. And this is a new CD coming out in 2014 in September. We're looking forward to a CD release party.
So there's some videos that are being put together, some in the can, a few being worked on. We felt that was an important part of what this is all about, getting the message and music out. So look for those too.
And what is the website that you have promoting this album?
Well, it's kind of hard to remember. It's robertreeder.com.
Okay, Robert Reeder, R-E-E-D-E-R.
That's right. And then there's also a Facebook page, Robert Reeder Music. So it's Facebook/Robert Reeder Music.
Robert Reeder, your new CD, the album coming out in September. We talked a little bit about how you came to Fairfield in 1991, thinking you were going to come visit your son for a while, and then probably who knows where you'd go after that. But you got attracted to what you saw as a musical mecca. And in the making of, I noticed there are a lot of credits and a lot of involvement of the community in the making of this album. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, the level of musicianship here is on a par with anything that I worked with in Los Angeles when I was working there. And by the way, when I left Los Angeles to come to Fairfield, yeah, it's true. I just came to visit, but there was something about the pace here, and the music business is a brutal place. It's a hornet's nest and an incredibly competitive place. And there was just something about the idea of kind of relaxing about my career and not caring so much about it that was really appealing at the time. And the fact that there were actually incredibly talented musicians here was kind of a surprise that came later, working with Jimmy and with Tim. And on this record, there's Ann Carlisle, there's the amazing, she is just, anything she does, she's like the consummate musician through and through. Stephen Michaela, everybody knows these guys.
The McLeans.
McLeans, yep. And David Siegel did some guitar work on this. But, Jimmy.
Lauren Shapter did violin and viola.
Yeah, thank you. On I Hear Your Sweet Singing, beautiful string work. Who is actually not from Fairfield. She's the one musician that's not from here. But.
So let's reflect again on the comments that you got about this point in your life. I do a little bit of math, and so I can tell you're probably over 60 at this point.
Yeah, I'm in my 60s.
Okay.
Humming along.
So you were delighted and surprised to find that people were interested in the fact that you're producing your first CD after 47 years in the music business at this age.
Yeah.
What does that say about baby boomers and this community, perhaps, in the way it may have inspired you to move ahead with it?
There's an attitude out there. I mean, even friends of mine, when I said I'm going to record a record, was, give it up. Do you know how competitive that business is? What do you think? What do you think you're going to do with it? And I'm like, yeah, I do know. But the fact is, songwriting is the most joyous thing in the world. I can't stop doing it. It's my dharma, I guess. It's in music. I mean, and now with this project, I'm so in love with recording. In the old days, I had my own recording studio in LA, and recording wasn't nearly as much fun. I mean, the end of the day, when you play a song back and it thrills you this deeply, it's like, oh, wow. And then, I sent it off to my friend Bob Cheevers in Austin, Texas. He won the Texas Music Award for Songwriter of the Year for 2011. He's a really talented guy, and he's someone that I knew from way back. And he listened to a couple of the tracks and said, "You're like the biggest secret in the music business. What the hell?" He was blown away. And he went on and on about how good the recording was, how good the songs were, how good the musicianship was. And he's like, "Where did you guys record this?" Yeah, Fairfield, Iowa.
Nice. So you were in Nashville and you were out sharing tracks with people in LA, but you decided to produce this album and record it here. Was it something more than just not being able to get studio time than Nashville that brought you back to Fairfield to record it?
I went out there because I had this idea that, and I think a lot of people have this, to get a really high quality recording, you have to do it in LA or Nashville. And, but I don't know if that's true anymore. And I kind of have proven here, we have, that you actually can make good records outside of those places. And, this is a good example of, kind of breaking the mold a bit. And gosh, I couldn't be happier.
I just wanted to add that, when you get the kind of feedback like these folks that produce Telluride and others in tears, when can you get this record so we can get this thing going? It certainly puts a little wind in the sails. I mean, where it goes, who knows? But I mean, I've recorded all my life too, and the caliber, the joy of the results, it sounds very kind of dry to do it. It's just thrilling. Plus, we've been playing some of this out now, and the response has been just great. It's just absolutely fun to do this project. So
yeah, I'm actually leaving as soon as this interview's over for Colorado to meet with the promoters out there to try to get some dates scheduled.
Good luck, and we are looking for our date right here in Fairfield. We're looking for that CD release party. Thank you both for joining me today. This is Andy Bargerstock, and you've been listening to an interview for Fringe Toast Music, the Wednesday night experience right here on KRUU-LP 100.1 FM. I'd like to lead out with Walkin' Shoes. Tell me, what is it about that song that is so effective?
Well, it's another one of those songs, just got a blues riff going, and these lyrics kind of just came out of nowhere, so who knows?
It's almost like a rap, isn't it? It's almost a rapping.
Yeah, towards the end, gets into it. It's like, here's my attitude.
And deep in the South. I mean, I felt like I was deep in the South. And,
yeah, it has that flavor. When I wrote that song, I was working with Tom Morgan. We were in a band called Walking Shoes, and we were pulling a lot of those blues like that.
Sneaking slowly across the room. Might be a rule I'm breaking. Might think I'm moving out too soon. Slow, oh, holy now. It's sneaky, sneaky me. Hey, now mama, where'd you put my walking shoes? Well, there's a sound I'm hearing as I'm sneaking toward the door. Be careful, careful not to wake up nobody on this squeaky boarded floor. Easy does it. I'm up on tippy toes. Easy, mama. Now where'd you hide them walking shoes? They were right here by the door last time I looked. Well, there's a shadow in the night searching all around this house. Don't want that old night owl to catch me sneaking around here like a mouse. Slow, whoa, holy now. Yeah, it's sneaky, sneaky me. Hey, now mama, where'd you put my walking shoes? Well, that old screech owl holler snuck up and took me by surprise. Swooping down on me like that with those big brown eyes. Easy does it, up on tippy toes. Easy, mama, I'm just looking for my walking shoes. I've been looking all over the house, you know that. Can't find them anywhere. Hey, let's make some breakfast. Have a little tea. Oh, come on. Now that's better. There's that pretty little kitty cat